Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. So y'all, when I look at the cards for this reading, I feel like there are 3 ways that I can get into this reading. I could take 3 different routes. But this reading has given me the energy like spiritually, I have to be jumped in order to read this. You know, oftentimes there are certain requirements in order to join a group or a coven. Something about the energy of this reading, it's like in order to get in order for me to read this to you, I physically or spiritually have to be jumped in order to have access. Now, I could start with 3 different cards to read this. One of the cards feels like an uppercut. One feels like a jab and the other feels like a left hook. And so like there's just aggression. But I really think that I am feeling this spiritually because it is saying to me that for a lot of you, your initiation was war. Like the first day, you know, sometimes you used to wait for people to get their birthday. This is when we were younger, like your birthday hits or your birthday licks. If you turn 13, then you're going to get 13 punches, right? Or you're going to get 13 pinches or like whatever. But sometimes your friends or your younger family member, like they couldn't wait for your birthday to come so that they could like get you. Spiritually speaking, you had a birthday. Your birthday marks the initiation of your calling. And I feel like the way your initiation began is with some spiritual licks, like out the gate. And so that's why when I try to read this, it's like, dang, I got to get jumped too. But like, yes, because this is what happened. OK, first of all, we just going to start with the good news. I have a card that says nobody can stop what God has in store for you. Nobody can stop. Okay, so that's the good news. Whatever your initiation proved to you, it was the fact that maybe you were going to have a lot of, listen, if you can tell me that nobody can stop God, everybody may have tried to stop God in the way that they came against you. Right? In order for you to make that statement, nobody can stop God, that means you done lived through some things where you have seen people go to war with God via you, through you. You were the access point. And all the while people are battling God, but they really in their mind believe that it is a battle between you and them. But you made it. And so I feel like I am revealing a series of battles that you have lived through. These battles are the same ones that have given you this power position. These battles are the ones that have led you to this new tomorrow, this new beginning, this new life. And so there's 3 ways I can get into this thing. I also, let me say this. I feel like another vision I get about this reading is after you go through your initiation, after you have you're in your position, right? You know, some people get downloads, some people get visions. I feel like you were getting grenades, like the bombs of truth and the revelations and the things that you were exposed to. It was just like boom, boom, boom. Like this reading just gives me high energy. But nonetheless, imagine if I'm like the director of human resources and I'm sitting across the desk from you. And this is your first day and you would like to apply for a job. When I look at your resume, and when I look at you, I cannot tell what you have lived through. Spiritually speaking, physically, emotionally, mentally, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I look at the words on the paper, but like the words on the paper don't include blood, sweat, tears. It doesn't include loss or grief or sadness or betrayal. When I physically look at you, you don't look like what you have had to spiritually battle through, right? So like any way I enter this reading, it's like what I am seeing physically, nobody can really believe what was really happening behind the scenes for you as an individual. Okay. And so for me to I don't know how else to explain it to you. I literally feel like I got jumped into this spiritually because it needed to be made very clear that from the beginning of this, it has been like that for you, where spiritually the hits were coming. From the first day that they could possibly ever arrive, they were on their way to you, okay? So, nobody can stop God, but everybody may have tried to. All right, y'all. So first we're going to go into the reading, and this one kind of starts with the Five of Cups. So y'all, I think I do have a new tarot deck, and I've used it already for a couple readings recently. I think it's called Tarot of the Divine or something like that. But every card talks about some type of historical or like some myth from a previous time in history. So this reading starts with Mexican folklore, and it comes out in the energy of the Five of Cups. And so this talks about a level of grief, okay? So this is one way that we're going to get into the reading, and it talks about a period of grief that you went through, but then it's also going to tell how you won that battle over grief, okay? So in the Five of Cups card, it says La Llorona. Okay, and this talks about a weeping woman, right? So the weeping woman is a ghostly figure, and it's often depicting a woman who wanders near bodies of water, wailing for her lost children. Now, the story varies, but she was essentially driven to grief or despair, possibly because of jealousy. Her husband gets a new wife. In response to what she was feeling, she drowns her own children, and then she is condemned to wander in search of them. And so the weeping woman is what the image is on this Five of Cups. And so this tells me that whatever was done to you, like when I say nobody can stop God, every attempt that people made to stop what God had in store from you, it was supposed to leave you in the state of being the weeping woman. Like where you would get to the point of a mental crash out that you would do something that you can never come back from. Like that was the intention. The weeping woman, like that was supposed to be your 24/7 identity. Like, where Tennille at? Oh, she over there crying. 2 months later, anybody see Tennille? Yeah, she's still crying. 6 years later, Tennille back? Nah, she's still over there crying. Like, what was done to you was supposed to make sure that you were forever going to be weeping. Now, the story of the weeping woman talks about betrayal, right? And typically, betrayal is always going to be a nail in the coffin. Y'all, for some people, betrayal really is the nail in the coffin, and not everybody can recover. And so some of the things that you endure, it could have been with a lover, a spouse. There could have been a level of grief. Now, the weeping woman kind of leaves you feeling the consequences of pride, the consequences of betrayal, the importance of family, but also responsible behavior, right? Something about the spirit of vengeance, something about the things that you endured, whether it was abandonment, and it could have been by somebody close, but it was enough to take you out, okay? Now, this says that you could have been in a similar state emotionally, okay? You decide to roll the dice, meaning when everybody else thought you would go right, you went left. You rolled the dice and you bet on yourself, and you had no reason to make that move. What was done to you was crash out worthy. And so this says that you put yourself out there. It says that you recognize that you had talents that you may have been hiding. You recognize that, listen, if I'm going to get out of this space, I got to take a risk. And sometimes taking a risk means stepping out, stepping into the spotlight. All right. When you went in this direction, you went in the direction that favors the only truth, that nobody can stop God. If you really believe nobody can stop God, then you are going to move as if that is true. Now, a lot of people are going to come against you to get you to be stagnant and to get you to pause or to get you to break. But if you really know God, then not even that is enough, right? And so clearly you know God. The relationship is sound no matter what you went against. And so people are confused, and they're almost, to them, you look like the weeping woman. Like you're very much alive. You didn't have the crash out moment, but it's almost like they understand what they did to you. And so to see you existing is to almost watch a ghost. Right? But you are a ghost of a different form. You're not the one that they attempted to create. Now, this is how you responded to whatever moment that you have been put in by family, loved ones, close people, though. It's got to be close people because we're talking about betrayal. And so I get the card of fire with this one. And so I almost imagine that these people set fire to anything that you were attempting to grow, right? If they set it on fire, then they could stop you. But remember, if God says yes, then it's yes. If God says you will have, because this is what's in store for you, well, then that is going to be true, right? So imagine they set your shit on fire. Job, relationship, health, assets, whatever, resources, they set it on fire. How did you respond? All right, y'all. I'm going to talk about nature real quick. But there are certain animals that interact with fire in a certain way. Some of these animals, they utilize their fire, right? And so imagine that you've got some type of forest fire. Well, the following birds of prey, this is what they do. I'm talking about the black kites, the whistling kites, and the brown falcons. Sometimes these birds are called firehawks, but they have been observed during times when large batches of land is on fire. They have been observed carrying burning sticks in order to start a new fire, right? So can you imagine these people have betrayed you? They've burned down everything, and you're watching your life go up in flames, and you pick up a stick, carry it over to a location that's not on fire, you drop it. Well, when these birds drop that stick, it's because they are going to hunt all the animals that they couldn't eat because they've ran away from the fire. Well, now the birds go and create a new fire, and as soon as that new fire begins, that means that they get to hunt. And they're able to hunt because all of the prey are going to attempt to escape. Do you see the brilliance in that? Right? And so what I'm saying is that you went through obstacles and chaos and catastrophe. And the way you responded was like, well, if we setting shit on fire, then I guess I did. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, well, if you were allowed to burn it on fire, if you were allowed to take it away from me, then it must not have been something that I needed in the future for whatever God has in store for me. And so you light a match too. You're like, what are we lighting on fire next, right? So this is about surrender. This is about submission, like just really accepting this really is the season. So y'all, that was one aspect. That was like the uppercut. That was like that version of your initiation. The betrayal. Well, then we have another access point. And this is about really how you almost had to look at death in order to get in the power position that you were in or that you were preparing to be in. Now, in this deck, we have the Four of Swords, but the Four of Swords talks about a giant wolf. This is a monstrous wolf, and this is coming from Norse mythology. This wolf goes by the name of Fenrir, and it is one of three children. So you have the god Loki. Loki has a giantess wife, and they have three children, where one of their children's is this giant wolf that is coming out on this card. And so the embodiment of this being or this mysterious creature, it talks about destructive force and chaos, right? And so you were already in an emotional state. And so now we're going to enter in another way that this initiation could have taken place. And so this is about the mind. The Four of Swords talks about the mind. Your mind was up against some type of destructive force that was supposed to bring you mental chaos. If you were to attach the force, you could look at it as this wolf from Norse mythology. And so the gods feared this wolf, right? Because it was growing rapidly. It didn't necessarily have powers, but it was so big. And it was also foretold that this wolf would kill the god Odin. And that would happen at the Battle of Ragnarok or something like that. And so anyway, the gods wanted this wolf to be chained. Because it had the ability to collapse society. It had the ability to collapse humanity, because it could just set the world on fire. This is the mental force. This is like saying what was sent to you would have been the same as this mythical beast, right? This wolf would have existed in your mind. And in the story, it says that the gods wanted the wolf to be chained. And the first two attempts to chain the wolf were unsuccessful. And so finally, on the third attempt, they go to dwarf sons. And these are like dwarfs of Vivaldi, and they're master craftsmen. And so they create this magical chain, and it's called Gleipnir. And so they use this magical chain in order to subdue and really bind this wolf down. Y'all, this part of the reading made me feel like this is when the gods pretty much said to you, I need you to go chain this wolf. This like you're the one who had to do it based on the energy, right? And so in order to chain this wolf, it represents destruction and force, but we're talking about mind. And so this is about you being wise. This is about you being sharp. And if everything is mental, you had a beast that was sent to your mind. And you had to tame a beast. And this beast could have come to bind you, right? You had 3 exchanges with something mentally. The first time, maybe it attempted to bind you unsuccessfully. Maybe you could or could not subdue it. Another mental attack comes. Maybe you feel as if it has bound you, but unsuccessful. It happens again. Well, in the third one, this is about you developing wisdom. This says that you finally got into a position of power in your mind, meaning you could heal yourself mentally. You could rest in your mind. Because whatever this beast was that was coming towards you, one, it was coming for your crown. And so like your initiation marks the beginning of your spiritual reign, where you are going to walk in this calling from this day forth. Y'all, some of y'all really got jumped in, okay? Because your soul apparently is about that life. And you may have, from the day your reign began, is also the day that they were coming to break your crown. Like as soon as the ceremony was over, that you had this position, they were waiting. And when I say they, I mean anybody who was spiritually legal and able to come against you. And obviously these are sparring partners, but y'all, this is not an easy reading, which means that what you endured to finally be outside of this death energy, what you endured to really be at the start of a new beginning is incredible based on what this reading is telling me, okay? And so they were coming for your crown right away. Like the day you recognize you were under attack, that is like when your reign really began. And so the energy of death is something that you really had to conquer in your mind, because it was supposed to put you in a state of mental or emotional instability, right? We're talking about the weeping woman, to the point where you just start wrecking your own life because you are overcome by the grief, the darkness, the sadness. These are all the things that were supposed to stop what was due to you. And so your crown chakra, this is what connects us to our spirituality. This is like the line. If you got to call the universe, you're talking to the Most High. You got to pick up your crown chakra, because like that's the portal by which everything happens. And so some of the physical issues that you could have endured as a result of the death magic that was coming to take your crown, it was literally coming to ransack your mind. Chronic exhaustion. Right? This is like you have no physical disorder, but all of a sudden you're exhausted and you have no energy. Nothing. Random migraines, random headaches, having extreme sensitivity to light, or like being just really odd about certain sounds or certain environments. Like the energy is just too much. Some of that is a representation of death magic that has been sent to your crown, just to disrupt your ability to hear and to communicate or to receive or to download. But I'm telling you, 3 different attempts took place with whatever this force was, whatever this chaos was in your mind. And on the third time, with wisdom, with just your wisdom, you were able to be in the power position where this wolf could no longer reign free. And so this is what reveals you to be a leader. Like you are called to lead. You came here to lead. And really being able to conquer whatever it was in your mind, it represents that you have stepped into your sovereignty. And you now have the ability to guide others compassionately to do that. So y'all, I kind of feel like I'm sitting across from you, interviewing you, you know, but what you look like today, and if you were to write your resume on paper, whether it is your physical life, your emotional life, like there's nothing that you could write that would really give me a glimpse into what you've been through, which is why I think the way I felt entering this reading was so important. I feel like in order for that to be communicated. Now, if I'm hiring you and I ask you about your path, well, how did you get here? How did you make it? It is almost saying that you would be very humble. You would say, well, my path had many obstacles, but it led me here and I'm grateful. Like that is the type of tone. But on one side, you've got this beast that you had to bind. On another side, you dealt with loss and betrayal that shattered you. It broke you and it wanted you to step off the brink of your own existence. And you didn't. You know, so like literally what you had to do to get to this moment where you are sitting in the seat of your assignment spiritually, it's like people won't believe what's on your left, what's on your right. And so finally, you were in this space of shedding, okay? This means that life for you now can look like bliss. One of the reasons why people are confused is not only do they know what they did to you, but you're looking single, sexy, and successful. Like you don't even look like what was done to you. So this is wild. This is extremely confusing. And I have death that comes out in 2 decks. And so you are literally shedding death. And when this death energy that does not belong to you, when it is no longer attached mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you know, sometimes we have friendships that are literally the death energy. And all you got to do is break off the friendship, the connection, and that energy won't be able to seep into your life. I have a card by Maya Angelou. It says, do the best you can do until you know to do better. Then when you know better, you do better. And I feel like one of the things that you had to learn how to do better was to be a better friend to you. By recognizing that maybe not all people that were saying they were friends, you know, this is just saying, making sure that everybody that has access to you is going to treat you as good as you're going to treat you. Some of the people that wanted to stop what God had in store for you are people that you may have called friend, partner, lover, spouse, family member. And so you literally had to subdue a beast that these people sent to you in your mind, in your emotion. And if they're setting fire to your life, then this is physical instability as well. And so you may be in the process right now of shedding, outgrowing relationships, outgrowing situations, outgrowing relationships. But you could be in the energy of starting over. And really recognizing that your healing is your priority. And relationships are medicine. And we don't want to be tied to people that make us sick. Right? And so when you're shedding, I really think you're looking at everybody and everything. But you're in this position of power, but I almost feel like I'm getting to see what led you here, so to speak. You know, I'm getting to see what led you here, but I'm also seeing what you could look like. Like there were many different versions of you that could have arrived to this moment, this new beginning. You did not have to show up single, sexy, successful, or full of bliss. Like this reading is saying, do you know how they could have arrived? And even if they write it, even if you look at them, you wouldn't even believe it, right? Like that's how I'm feeling. And so you did the best you could. And every time you knew better, you did better. And even if you just changed little things, that is how you triggered this shedding of the death energy. Y'all, so I love you and congratulations. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.